Good evening and welcome to Hull and Back's Tiger Talk on Humberwave Radio and on the podcast here. I'm Adi Wright.
I'm Joe Collins.
Is that me? I'm Nathaniel.
Yay, he's got it.
Paul Wright.
Christian, we couldn't hear you, but
I think he said it. I think he said it.
I'm back, lads. I'm back. Hello.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah.
It's been a good start to tonight. Well done to everybody.
Professionals. That's what we are. Professionals.
All professionals. We don't need two takes at anything, do we?
Nobody wants us to have two takes, I'll tell you.
Anyway, been an interesting week as a Hull City fan, as always. I don't think during my lifetime of supporting Hull City, there has ever been a week that isn't interesting to be a Hull City fan. So this week's been probably more interesting than some with things that have happened. I'm going to try and say this name. Ruben Sayers. Yeah. Hey, look at me go. He's joined as our head coach at Hull City. We did say on last week's show that we thought this was going to be the case, and he's now here. We're recording this on Monday, so he's taking his first training session today. Joe, you said to us just before we came on air that you think he's had some of the 18s and the 21s down there, according to the pictures that are on. It's not a bad thing, really, is it?
It's not. And it's quite a common thing, I suppose. The 21s, obviously, they've had Connor Sellers as their manager be Dawes' assistant. And with the way the form is, Ruben Sayers will probably want to look at them. The 18s play next on Saturday at Bishop Burton at home to Peterborough, I think it is, while the first team play Coventry. The 21s don't play until... No, the 21s play. They would have played yesterday as this goes out. Tomorrow as they're recording this, as we're recording this. So I like the fact that Sayers wants to look at them because the academy seems to have been neglected quite a lot under Adjun's ownership. There's the couple that have bled through under Rossignol, Harry Vaughan, although his loan last season seems to have set him back a little bit. Sellers Fleming, another one. And, you know, you can see from the pictures, Sellers Fleming's there. You can see Cam Gray in there from the 18s, Aidan Sheehu, who's been playing a lot for the 21s recently. And then there's a picture I've shown you guys on of a still from the video of someone who I can't make out with perspective in terms of height and whether someone's had a haircut or I don't know. But chances are it's either a trialist who no one really knows about for the 21s or someone from the 18s. So that's only a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely. And we've not had enough of it, as you've said, Joe. It's about time that we had, you know, some more interaction and some more integration from those squads into the main squad, because at the moment we're lacking a little bit of quality, definitely in the striker area. I mean, you know, if you see me on a match day, Bedier's not doing it for me. I don't know. Pedro's not a bad player, but he's not got the legs. I'm still not understanding why he hasn't tried Bairstow yet, but maybe maybe Sayers will do. He might be different. So it'd be good to get some of those players integrated. What, Nathaniel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can either look at it as, well, we're bottom of the league, and so if the players we haven't got until January, hopefully we'll sign some then. They haven't been performing, bring some of the academy players in, or just show, you know, look, if you don't impress me in this first month, in, you know, the first week, I'm the new manager, whatever you've done under Volta, you know, that's sort of disregarded. I will replace you just like that with someone who wants to be there. I think if we're looking at the striking options, I'm surprised that Dawson didn't actually start Bairstow the way he talked about him in the press conference beforehand. And I think we need players with that energy like Palmer, like Bairstow, to play Sayers' high pressing system. He talks about having high energy, so I wouldn't be surprised until January, especially Pedro, as you say. He doesn't have the legs, but some of these young lads definitely will.
Why did he take off Palmer on Saturday, Christian?
Good question, because I haven't a clue. Like, when he took him off, I was like, well, I have to admit, I was a bit shocked. It didn't make much sense. And maybe because he hasn't played that many minutes, perhaps. Maybe he wanted to save his legs for another game, perhaps. I mean, look, we can only speculate why. For me, Palmer was the best player on the pitch by far. He was not here, there, and everywhere off the ball, but he carried the ball up the pitch more than anybody else. He had more shots that I can recall than anybody else. And he created more than anybody else. And he was extremely, if anything, the most influential player on the pitch on the weekend. And, you know, all credit to the guy of how well he played, because it was really nice. And you know what? With the amount of shots he's took, we may as well bang him up top. Because I mean, hey, he's a joint top goal scorer. You can't argue with it. So
he's not in his own goal at Stoke.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
but he scored for Coventry though, didn't he? So in the Championship, he does have 2 goals.
He does have 2. There you go. You see, so you may as well have him up top. I found it really strange that the sub happened, and same with Longman as well.
Yes, Christian. Yes,
I know. I thought you would bring for you there, Nathaniel. I mean,
Longman's fan club on it tonight.
It is. I mean, the Longman fan club's
7 minutes, and Longman's already got a mention.
I know. 7 minutes in,
and a round of applause.
Yes.
But I have to admit, that was, for me, another questionable sub. I mean, I thought Longman was having a brilliant game, if I'm honest with you. So
and he left Kamara on.
Yeah. Kamara on as well. And
I don't understand the Kamara thing. I think, he just hasn't done it for me at all. He seems disinterested. Don't take anybody on.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything, really. I mean, he did cross the ball for Bairstow last match against Middlesbrough, didn't he? But he just seems uninterested. I can't understand it, because they said he was a really good player. I just don't understand where he's going. I mean, his place must be in jeopardy. I can't believe it isn't, because he just doesn't seem to be doing it to me.
You would have thought, though, wouldn't you?
We haven't got any other wingers, really, have we, until January? Sinnick's a permanent six. We've got to hope, I really hope Ruben Sayers fancies Will Jarvis, and I hope Jarvis shuts Tim Walter up and gets in the team and plays some fantastic football, which I know he's capable of. He's one of the best players I've ever watched at under 21s level. But Kamara, I've not judged deliberately, because Portsmouth fans said on the left-hand side for them he was poor, but then they put him on the right and he was a world beater in League One. But we didn't see that contrast between left and right on Saturday against Blackburn. It's the first time he's played in his natural position, and it was more of the same. And like I say, I've been hesitant to judge so far, but I'm starting to get and understand why other people are getting Malcolm Ebiowei vibes from him. Highly rated, highly rated young winger, but just doesn't seem like he's got the work rate on the pitch.
Got to have some more confidence. He's got to be more confident and go forward and be willing to take a player on. And, I suppose be willing to lose the ball. You've got to take a few more risks, and a player playing in that position, that's what your job is to take risks. If you lose the ball, you lose the ball, but that's part of the game, and you take that risk for me. And I just haven't taken the risk enough. And you would have thought that with Sayers being sat in the stands, it'd have been really raring to go and to try and say, look, this is my place, and he hadn't done that. And as you say, Will Jarvis is sat in the background. He's been a little bit pushed out the squad. Could he work his way back in under Sayers? I'd like to think so, because I agree with you, to be honest, Joe. I think there's a player in there. I think that when we see him, fans get a little bit frustrated with him because he don't come back. But for me, it ain't his job. His job is to be a creator and to create us some goals, because, at the end of the day, you should have enough players behind you to cover you, to be the creative influence in the team. And that's what your job is. If you're in the front three, you're a creator. Yeah, you might come back and help the defence if you can, but ultimately your job is to try and get goals. And that's one thing that we've not got enough of this season. What we scored 17 now, is it?
In 19. And of course,
The
since
thing is,
that,
the defence
pretty
aren't
much
letting
spell.
many goals in, are they?
No,
one
no.
goal, here and there. If you've not got anybody up front who's going to score you even a goal, 1-0, it's not a major defeat, is it? You just need a bit of forward play, and we've got nobody taking them risks. As I say, Casey Palmer was he was different class, to be fair, on Saturday. Why if he's took him off because there's another game coming midweek, it's stupid because we needed a goal on Saturday. We get a point on Saturday, you go on to the next game and see how you do. And he was the only one liable to get us a point the way he was playing. Nobody else seemed to be as good as him on the pitch. So
Exactly.
I don't understand it. I think it was a stupid move. Longman, I don't know. They keep taking him off at half time, don't they? Just after half time, things like that. I just don't understand that neither. I mean, Kamara was at far worse than Longman. He wasn't even in the same league, and he's still on the pitch.
They keep bringing
And Omar is
on.
really disappointing me at the moment. I mean, I thought he was going to be our player of the season this year, but I think he's been so poor. I mean, on Saturday, he had 3 or 4 chances where he could have crossed it, and he passes it back to Coyle. And I don't understand what's he doing. He doesn't seem interested. That's the problem. I think he needs a lot of interest. There's a lot of people seem disinterested. And as you say, we had our new manager watching, and he's seeing that sort of play. Their places must be bang under threat, and you can understand him bringing the under 21s and the under 18s in to maybe push them up a bit better, because they aren't doing it for me. A lot of these players, and they're on big money, aren't they? I mean, Omar, I think he's our top earner, isn't he? So I just think they need something. I'm hoping he does it.
He'll be our top earner ahead of a certain Mr. Cynic, who's played 13 games, only 2 over 60 minutes.
We've got the Longman mention, we've got the Cynic mention.
It is the 17 goals that I've said goals for. So 17 goals for Hull City this season. There's only Cardiff that have scored the same, which is 17. Everybody else has scored more than us in the league. I suppose
when you put it like this, our best chance of the whole game was in the 80s in terms of minutes, and it was a 35-yard pot shot by a centre-back, Charlie Hughes, that hit the post. It was powerful. It was direct. He gave it a go, and it hit the post, and that's our best chance of the whole game. It comes that late on, from that far out, from a player that shouldn't have to do that to try and get us a point.
To be fair, let's just go. Let's put it into a bit of perspective, because I think we were slightly unlucky as well. There's when you're at the bottom, the luck just doesn't seem to go for you. And as we've all said, that Casey Palmer had a great game. He takes a great free kick. The goalie makes a great save from it. We've had a few shots that the goalie's pulled off some good saves from. So I think, looking at Saturday, we were slightly better in the final third. We had a bit more goal malfaction than we've seen.
Is that saying much?
It's not saying much, Nathaniel, but it is saying something. It's saying that we was slightly better. Is it something to build on, and it's something that Sayers can build on? Christian, you was coming in a second ago, and you didn't get your point across. So
just saying, look, when he was playing on the left and going back to Coyle, like, every time he was starting to run up on that wing, he just pulled it onto his left peg. And once he was on his left peg, it just seemed like he didn't know what to do with his right one. Like, once he beat the player, just cross it in with your right, even if it's not your strongest foot. At least it's going into the box or the zone of where the strikers would potentially be. And like with Casey Palmer, how he was playing, I'm confident that guy would have ran on to the end of anything going into the box on weekend. And that was the thing that just was really disappointing. I mean, I've not rated him since he's turned up as Kamara. I haven't. And all this hype around him, none of you guys here can right now, honest to God, say you've seen any hype at all. And we've all given this, he was playing on the left, he was out of position. I thought he looked better on the left than he did the right. And you can't argue with that. So I don't see it. And this is a problem where losing, obviously, the Miller and Bloomy situation throughout the season is really costly to us. It really is. Like, they were the ones that I personally feel where goals could have come from, or the chances could have come from. And now bringing Casey Palmer into that makes it look brilliant. And in my head, it would have looked brilliant. But for the game, so go on, Eddie.
Can I just ask a quick question? Do Balumi and Miller get better quicker now?
They need to get better quicker.
No, but
They
do you know what I'm saying? But do you know the point that I'm sort of trying to get at? Where they're not happy with how they was playing under Volta, and are they now thinking, right, I'm now going to put some more effort into my rehab because I want to get back quicker, so we've got a different manager. Does that work in football, do you think?
Pending on the injury. Yeah, pending on the injury. Yeah.
Really, really long-term knee injuries that are difficult to rehab anyway, and they'll be lucky if they're fit for the start of pre-season based on a conversation I had with...
Can't rush them, can you?
Yeah, based on a conversation I had a few weeks ago with Liam Miller, I said, will you be back for the start of pre-season next season? He goes, well, we'll see. This was before he had his operation. And look, I don't think... Like a lot of people say Miller is a massive miss. I don't think he's as big a miss as people make him out to be. But Balumi, I think, is, because he's the only one of the signings so far if we discount Casey Palmer's last few games when he actually got some minutes on the pitch, and Stephen Alzate probably,
it looked really good.
20 minutes he got.
Yeah.
I think he might be a crucial player for us. But anyway, back to the point. I'm sure we'll touch on Alzate again later. Balumi and Hughes were the only two players who'd shown a little bit of anything, minus Zambrano, who's obviously bad now, so we don't really need to take that into account in terms of did he impress or not. He's banned. So there's no point discussing it because he's not going to get picked, is he? But I think because of that, Balumi is a bigger miss than Miller is by quite some considerable distance. And especially when Kamara gets moved onto that stronger side and doesn't live up to the expectations we've all had of him, that only makes us miss Balumi a little bit more.
Yeah. The thing.
Going on to that, what you said, Eddie, about Miller and I forget his name, Balumi. What about Cynic? What do you think he might think? Well, there's a new manager on board. Do I have to get an even longer sick note?
Probably get a longer sick note. Yeah, you're probably right there, Paul. Yeah, I like that one. I mean, look, guys, we can't argue the game on weekend looked a lot better than most games we've seen all season. It looked, if anything, other than the scoreline, I found it more enjoyable to watch.
Absolutely.
And a player who we've criticised over and over and over again looked really good all weekend, Ryan Giles. Now, I thought he played 10 to 20 to 30 times better than I've seen him play any game in a City shirt at the weekend, because it seemed more natural to him. He wasn't playing left back. He was playing higher up on that touchline, attacking more. All right, some of the link-up plays weren't there, but that, for me, was more of a we are out of practice with playing with each other situation on these type of build-ups.
He was more involved, wasn't he?
He was a lot more involved.
And that's the first step. You've got to look like you actually
cared.
Well, what I want to say back to you, Christian, is this: the date today, as we're doing this podcast, is the 9th of December. The January transfer window opens very, very soon, and Middlesbrough have already been rumoured to say that they want Ryan Giles in January. So he needs to keep in the first team to try and get this move to Middlesbrough. So that's why I think that Giles was possibly more interested. And that could just be me being a little bit harsh, but I'm probably not.
And do you know what? I hope it continues, because if he's playing better whilst he's still with us, I'd rather him play better whilst he's with us than just sit back and moaning. Look, if he's going, fine. See you later, pal. Ta-ra. But if you want to have that stature to go over to Middlesbrough and you want to actually play good and say, look, I can still do it, and he's playing better for us, I'd rather a player play better for us than just sit back and moan and waste the money that we've invested into the guy.
I agree with you.
Look, if he's going to go...
I mean, would he get into Middlesbrough's team at the moment?
No. He wouldn't. He wouldn't.
Well,
Simple
you
as
know, I
he
mean,
wouldn't.
they might want him and he might want to go, but, you know, does he want to just go sit on the bench, keep the bench warm? Like, as you say, he's got to really put it in for us to show that, well, yeah, it's worth taking a chance. He's better than our left back, or he's as good as, he's playing well. But if he isn't, I can't imagine Middlesbrough throwing loads of money at it to get him if he's not playing well. So it is a bit of a, you know, a chance for him, isn't it, to show that he is good, and obviously it will help Hull City if he's
Also
playing
depends on
well.
how desperate we are, Paul. As
Yeah.
in money wise, how much we'd get for him. You know, I mean, it's going to be a loss.
I might just be being a little bit like our right midfielder, a bit of a cynic in that situation. And you know, sorry, Nathaniel.
Maybe saying he's a right midfielder would imply that he can actually play.
On the field, is he?
So I might just be being horrible to Ryan Giles, and he might be putting it in because we've got a new coach in the stands, and he wants to start.
But it's all right. It's just about Giles again. It's all right saying, might he want to go? But Adjun needs to be a little bit firmer. He needs to stop saying, like he did in the summer, well, both Jaden and Jacob wanted to go, and I won't stand in the way of a player if he wants to go. Because the whole premise behind arguing that Philogene and Greaves been sold early because they wanted to go was so that we could do our business early, and then we didn't. If we're going to do our business early and we sell Giles early, cool. If there's the offer there and he wants to go or whatever. But I think we have to have a replacement just about signed, sealed, delivered before 100%. We say, right, Ryan, you can go. Because we can't leave ourselves in a position where
I totally agree with you. I think that I agree with what you're saying. And John has definitely been too lenient, too soft with the players, however it is, to let them go as early as he has done. And for the amount of money that he let him go for, I was disappointed with both of those transfers. I think the way that the Philogene one was going, you could have easily, you know, got a few little bounces off each other. You know, I'll give you 18, I'll give you 20, I'll give you 21. Could have been like a little bit of an auction going on there. And Greaves could have been the same because there was more, you know, there was rumours of different clubs interested in Greaves. So I agree with what you're saying. It's one of them where, you know, if we don't need to let him go, don't let him go. The reason that I sort of say that with him is because ultimately he's just not shown enough all the time that he's been here. The only time that we've seen it from him, you've seen it in a couple of games from him. Probably Saturday was the most that I've seen from him in the Hull City shirt, commitment-wise, and looking as though he's actually a player and he actually took on a man and put a ball into the box. And it was like, well, you can actually do it, you know. And this is the thing is that I only want players. I'm with John in a way. I only want players that want to be here, because if they don't want to be here, you're going to get Ryan Giles from 3 weeks ago that don't do anything, and it's not worth having. And you're paying a lot of money for somebody that don't want to be here. I'm cautious. I'm conscious that I've spoken for a long time. Before I hand over, I just want to say, Nathaniel, did we need another goalkeeper?
Oh well, we've been linked to that goalkeeper in at Man United, the Turkish one.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
Altay Bayender.
There you go. Joe knows all the names. Do we need another one, Nathaniel?
You know what? To be fair, I think I might be controversial and say no. I don't think we needed another goalkeeper. I think we need another 2.
Who needs 11 when you can have 12?
Yeah, we're not going to concede any goals if we have a whole back 5 made of goalkeepers.
We can't play them all at the same time. Nobody's told him, have they? Nobody's told him.
It's worrying.
Changing room. We can play 4 goalkeepers now.
It's come from Turkish press, that one, and it's been rubbished pretty much straight away by local media. But the fact it actually seems plausible when it comes out, with the Fener links and being Turkish and not getting games, and the fact we have this fetish for signing goalkeepers, it just seems so.
Academy one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody was talking about Tufan maybe coming back, because he's not doing very well where he is. Could we go back for him in January?
It's nothing to do with us. It's more to do with Tufan. Just he wanted to be back home. We all and
Yeah,
Sonny want to be
probably,
back home.
yeah.
I think he's going to Besiktas, isn't he? From
Yeah, that's the
Trabzonspor?
rumor. Yeah, so going to the rivals, which a few obviously aren't happy about. But it's been a rocky start for him going back home. But look, everyone here obviously still loves the guy. You know, we'd have him back in a heartbeat if he could come back because we've got nobody else up top that'll score any goals. So yeah, definitely have him back in a heartbeat there. I mean,
And he's not even on the show tonight to give us an exclusive, is he?
No, that's it. That's it.
No,
Thanks.
it's not.
Well, I mean, let's look at Ruben Sellers now. Like, let's go to what was said about him from what's former player called? Joby McAnuff. Yeah. He really praised Ruben quite a bit. And obviously we all know what it's like at Reading with obviously the salary issues, the point deductions, the transfer embargoes, the list goes on of the mess that was going on at Reading and still technically is. And for someone to come in and kind of settle the storm and, well, relatively have a pretty decent season so far, considering everything that they're under at Reading, it was amazing to come in. And the one thing that was highlighted was not only about how he likes to bring in youth players and actually look at them and obviously get that team of local talent back, but how well he is in the dressing room, off the pitch, and getting that kind of team spirit back, that freedom of the players to express themselves a bit more. Is proven that he can do that off-field stuff, because obviously the off-field stuff goes hand in hand with what happens on the on-field. So having someone like Ruben at the club right now for Hull City, with where we're at mentally wise and everything that we've been going against, Ruben is by far probably the most perfect manager signing at Hull could have had right now, because of where we are and what people say that Ruben's kind of qualities are. And to be joined by James Oliver Pierce, his assistant today, and what is it?
Toby
Loveland. Yeah, Loveland. So they've turned up today, haven't they? And they've had the first actual real kind of coaching session and sit down and communications with everyone.
I actually spoke to Toby Loveland and James Oliver Pierce at the weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they both seem,
normal.
Just normal people. They seem very personable. They said they're looking forward to getting started. It's good attendances. They said it's a good squad, which,
well, they would say that.
There is quality within our squad. We can't put that aside. There is quality.
They also said that Ruben Sayers, this is on Saturday, had been in the ground. They probably arrived about 1:45-ish. They said Ruben Sayers had been in there for quite a while because he wanted to meet people behind the scenes and find his way around and get used to the environment, familiarize himself with all. And like the key thing there was meeting people behind the scenes, wanting to meet all the people properly in media, in commercial, in marketing, in sort of fan engagement, in trying to meet and wanting to meet all those people and going down into the club shop and seeing what goes on in there. That's the sort of thing I could never imagine Tim Walter doing. But it's exactly the sort of thing I could imagine Liam Rosenior doing and Ruben Sayers doing, because the two profiles of manager, young, up and coming, highly rated, good with good people skills, empathetic, yet strong leaders and good tactically. They're two very similar profile appointments from the situation we found ourselves in 2 years ago and now. And it's that sort of like empathy, and I've said it a lot, people's skills that I think the group missed on the pitch and in and around the training ground a lot under Tim Walter. So I think him doing that in his first 2 or 3 days, being in early, meeting people, is a very, very encouraging sign.
Yeah, it certainly is.
What it's like. It definitely, you can see that's the thing where you look at a manager that comes in. If they're willing to go out and like literally branch a hand out and say, "Hi, this is me," and actually I want to know about you. That one little discussion and that one little phrase, I want to know about you, who are you, what you are, it affects so much. It really does. It affects everything. And from a fan engagement side of things as well. Like, you can just, I don't know, compared to Tim, is it me? Do you feel there's a bit more of a presence about Ruben already in the short stint that he's been here? Do you feel like the way he talks about his philosophy and like where he's come from and what his plans are? I don't know. To me, it's completely different to Tim. But then again, I don't think anybody will ever witness anything like a Tim Walter again in any English club again. Because
I think it's one of them where obviously there's the difference in Germany to Spain. It's a different sort of way of life, and people are more, probably seem to be more laid back in Spain than they do in Germany. Everything in Germany, they seem to be, it seems like quite an aggressive sort of language and stuff like that, doesn't it? Whereas the Spanish probably doesn't. They seem a little bit more relaxed. So what will you take out of Saturday's game, Paul, that he can bring into Wednesday?
Obviously, we've said, Casey Palmer is obviously a plus, and they did seem a bit better. I mean, nothing majorly better. I think that, as I say, the defence, we had a change. Obviously, McLaughlin in for Jones. Well, they're saying Jones has got a slight injury. They did quite well defensively. I think they can build on that. I mean, as I said last week, we could do with a none against. Whether we score at the other end is, plus. But if we don't, we could do with a nil at our end, really. And that'd give a bit of confidence. And I think what he saw on Saturday will probably give him that bit of confidence, because it was an own goal, wasn't it? McLaughlin stuck his knee out and it flew in. It could have gone anywhere. They often go anywhere, don't they? And just a bit unlucky, really. But I think there was a bit of, a few players who did themselves no harm. I mean, Hughes coming back, it was a good thing. He never does himself any harm, really. 110%. One of the things I wanted to ask you, do you think they might change the the captain, and put Hughes as the captain?
No.
Because I don't, I like Coyle, but I don't know if he's the right man for the captaincy in the sense on the pitch.
I think
and I could see Hughes being a bit more vocal on the pitch.
I agree with what you're saying, because I do like Louis Coyle as the captain of the club. I think that he's really good the way that he integrates the players, takes players out, goes for meals with them, all like that. The thing that probably frustrates me most of all with Coyle is that you see the other teams doing it when they've got a good captain. He's next to the referee. He's giving the referee, what for if the referee's got some decisions wrong. And Louis Coyle doesn't do that enough. And I do agree what you're saying, Paul, that, Hughes would definitely get in the referee's ear more. The problem there is that he'd probably end up getting more yellow cards as well. And we can't do with him getting many more, because it'll be another ban and it's 2 games next time. I mean, obviously, we like Hughes, we like his commitment, and we like what he's doing, but he can't afford to have too many yellow cards. I wanted to ask, for people that are watching the 21s and the 18s, probably you more than any of the rest of us, Joe, who's the likely suspects that he's gonna bring in from there into Wednesday's game?
So the obvious one, of course, is Tyrell Sellers-Fleming.
Yeah,
that's the obvious one. Striker, scoring goals for fun for the 21s, and there is obviously a step up in class between the 21s and the first team in the Championship, but he's someone who's got in a habit of finding the back of the net, which can't be a bad thing.
Goals to stars, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we need some goals, that's for sure. In terms of who else for the 21s has had a good start to the year, there's obviously Rocco Coyle, he's been injured recently, actually, but he's starting to make his way back to fitness now. Nathan Tinsdale and Sincere Hall were in and around the squad in pre-season. If we go, I'd say move back to the defence, but he can play anywhere. Zane Myers, who we brought in the summer, he's had stints at Chelsea, Millwall and Swansea. Now he's here and he can play literally anywhere. I've seen him play his natural position of left back, central midfield, right wing and left wing. and he's had a really, really good start to life for the under-21s. If we move over to the 18s, obviously Stan Ashby is technically still in the 18s, but he's spending all his time with the 21s. He needs to be either given a shot regularly or given a loan move in January. I really rate Ed Devine at left back. I think he's one to look out for, but I don't think he's ready just yet, to be honest. Harry Revel at centre back is again another one I really, really quite like. Good bloke, under 18s captain. And alongside him at centre back, actually, where's the number 6? Is a centre back. He's called Bobby Moore, and he made his under 21s debut last season when he was just 15. He's playing every week for the 18s, and he's not even 16 yet. He's one to look out for, and we have seen players his age be chucked in at the deep end before. Could this one happen? We'll see.
Well, at 16, it's a lot to ask, isn't it?
It is. It's an awful lot to ask. Lucas Dawson, Andy Dawson's son, has been with the 21s all year. Aidan Sheehu, who we signed in the summer after some trouble with his contract at Southend and a money situation, he's been training with the 21s quite regularly as a second-year scholar. Josh Ajayi has impressed me for the 18s as a first-year scholar. Alfie Perry as a holding midfielder is brilliant. I like Stan Hewitt on the left flank for the 18s. Jack Topley's played for Tanzania under 20s this year. And then that leaves Ramel Carter, who is a name everyone on City Twitter raves about and came in from Tottenham last year. And he's lively on the right wing. And then up top, another striker who knows where the back of the net is at the moment, Zach Jagielka, son of Bill, of course, with that surname. It's a recognisable one. And he's like I say, he knows where the back of the net is. He's quite a short striker, but he's spoken about how his dad being a centre-back has helped him pick up on things that defenders don't like, that Phil didn't like defending against, and helped make him a better striker. And like I say, he knows where the back of the net is. So I think a lot of those guys who I've just mentioned for the 18s, it's a really strong 18s team this year, will be given a chance in the 21s over the course of the rest of the season. But
so there is hope without going into the January transfer window then. We could dip into our 18s and 21s and maybe get something out of there to help the first team to progress up the league. Because as we all know, unfortunately, we've ended up at the bottom of the table now, 15 points from 19 played. We need, Ruben needs to hit the ground running with this team. He hasn't got much of a honeymoon period, really, because when you're at the bottom of the league, you can't afford to go any lower. You can't go any lower. You're at the lowest point. So hopefully, as Yaz says, the only way is up for Ruben.
Can I do a little quip?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, dear.
From rock bottom, rock bottom is a good foundation to build from.
I guess. Yeah. I'd rather not be there.
Back to the point of the game. We touched on it earlier. Steven Alzate, he's not played much because he came in as a late arrival. This isn't I'm a Celebrity Joe. Come on, he came in as a free agent signing at the end of the transfer window. Was lacking a bit of fitness. Got himself nearly there. Suffered a little calf injury. Now he's on his way back. If he can stay fit, which I think he can, he could be a fantastic player because we saw little glimpses. And you mentioned it earlier, Christian, how he looked good. He looked good in tight spaces, made himself available for various different passes when players like Burstow and Giles and Palmer were in tight spots. He made himself available to try and open the play up. And I hope we get to see more of him. I think he could be such a crucial player for us.
It's like having a new player, isn't it? To be fair,
yeah.
he's not played for us really, has he?
Exactly. It could be a really, really big
It could be
asset.
like a free signing, isn't it? To a degree.
Yeah, it could. And, to me, Puerta hasn't done enough for me in Hull City colours. He's been one that I've been a little bit disappointed with because I know that you guys raved about him on the podcast here and was sort of saying how good he could be. But for me, he's just not done enough at Puerta. So to have that Elzate to come in and maybe play in his position and do a better job, that would be, I'd be happy with that, to be quite honest with you. I think that we've been lacking there. I know that Simons has done quite a good job there, but I think he's picked up a little knock at the moment, hasn't he? And that's why he won in the team at the weekend.
Simons was arguably the only player Tim Walter improved. Just because
he did improve him. I think Simons has come back and done well since he's come back for us. To be quite honest with you, one player that you mentioned earlier, Joe, was Harry Vaughan. Could Harry Vaughan excel under Sayers?
I believe I forgot Harry in the 21s. It's just because I see him as a first team player who's just like dipped back in there. I love Harry to bits. He's such a nice lad, and if anyone. Well, the form he's in for the 21s, he's another one with Tyrell Sellers-Fleming, where they're the obvious two. So obvious, I forgot to mention him. Well done, Joe.
And he can play. Obviously, when he first came in for us, when we was very low on players, he came in and did really well at the end of the season, playing on the wing for us. He's one that for me, getting loaned out probably. I think people maybe thought it was the right thing, but I thought when. He'd played so well at the end of that season, and then last season he could have come into the fold and had a bit less pressure on him because of players being there ahead of him. But to learn off them players, would have been really good. And I think that loaning him out was maybe the wrong decision, to be quite honest with you, because he was so close to being a first team player anyway.
It came very last minute as well, the loan.
Yeah,
it came because we got the Zaruri deal done so late. It was sort of like a panic to get him out on loan, and he got sent to the first club that was in for him. Really, it was a long way down to Bristol. It's because obviously Harry's originally from sort of Oldham, Manchester way. Hull isn't too far, really. Bristol is, and I know Harry didn't get out of the loan what he thought he would in terms of minutes and game confidence, but but even the experience of living away from home, living a long way away from home, it's made him a better player, I think, and we've just not seen it at first team level yet because of other players that got brought in.
Let's hope that Harry Vaughan can maybe break into that, that 19 players and maybe get a place on the bench and maybe come on and show a little bit of what we saw from him, 2 seasons ago now. We did see it from him. He played really well for us, and there is definitely a player in there. And he's another one with, Jarvis, because of the injuries to Miller and Balumi. They could be people that could come in and do something for us and maybe haven't been given the chance. The thing that I would say about Andy Dawson is, although the team looked better on Saturday and they played a little bit better, I think for me, he didn't change it enough, and he didn't bring enough of the, players like what we're talking about into the fold to try and give them a bit of a go. And if it had been me in his position, I'd have changed it a bit more than he did. I don't know what you think, Christian.
I agree, actually, Eddie. I truly do. I think there would have been a bit more. I don't know. It felt like he played it safe a little bit to begin with the players that he was going off with, and his substitutions as well. Obviously, we had a 2-second stint at the beginning saying like they were a bit questionable. Why did he bring off Palmer? And when I'm confident, I think everybody was screaming, "Take Bedio off and swap him out." I think everybody was screaming at that one. Yeah, I agree that I was probably playing a bit more too safe. I mean, for me personally, I would have put Bairstow up top.
Yeah, I would have done as well.
100%.
It's crazy to think the guys just come on, scored a quick goal, and then all of a sudden back on the bench and you come in on the wing again.
And on the left wing, the wing that he hasn't played before, he played right wing last time, and you bring him on left wing.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the thing that I have to admit. Again, you've heard me say this before. I was screaming some very naughty words at the TV when that happened, and watching the game. And it's a difficult one, but to kind of put your finger on why he did it. But then at the same time, you're looking at players that haven't had that amount of match minutes this season to bring on. And if you took that huge gamble and you got thrashed, you kind of looked at as that guy of, well, you don't know what players you've got as well. Because
you got two games in charge, Christian. You've got 2 games to prove yourself. Do you just go, there's a word or bust? I'm not going to say that word on the radio.
Like the Lee Kersley tactic.
Though, don't you?
Just stick them all up front like Lee Kersley did with the Greece.
Honestly, this weekend was one of those games where there was an opportunity from the managerial side of things, especially being with Andy Dawson's side of it, where he could have turned around and gone, let's do something completely different.
Yeah.
Like completely different. I know it's hard with the short stint that he's had in charge and looking after the club, even though he's been around the club for a while. Obviously, let's not get it wrong, guys. Andy's had to undo a lot of questionable kind of training and tactics that have been imprinted in them from the beginning of the season to the point where he's took over. He's had to kind of unravel it and teach the midfield how to be a midfield again. So that was one job.
Touch of football.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that he's had to kind of do. So it's a little bit at a time. But
so basically, I'm being a little bit hard on him, and he didn't have enough time to do it.
No, it's one of those because he didn't have a lot of time, but he should know who he's got in the squad to actually take that bit of a gamble. I mean, we're all screaming about it right now, saying who should have been up top, who should have gone here, who should have gone there. If we're the ones, I know, God, we're fans. We can say what we want and still have our own feelings about it. And Andy's the one who's having to do it at the time. But I believe everyone's singing the same hymn sheet. I think everybody's saying the same thing about the same players that should have been playing, just to give them that chance, especially in front of a new manager that's in the stands. You kind of want him to see what these other players that everyone else is looking at going, well, why didn't you play him? You want the manager to see that player do that, especially after he's just scored a goal at the weekend and the first goal in God knows how long as well. But yet you bring him on as a left wing. These type of things don't help those type of players that we've signed that haven't been utilised by Tim. So sorry, Joe, go on, mate, because I'm going to go on a rant about that. So yeah, go on.
I mean, everyone listening now would have seen this already, but the club have just put a video out of Sayers giving a speech to the players today, and I'll just give you sort of an essence of what he said. He said that, look, for Saturday, they were preparing with the technical staff. He didn't want to disturb them. And he says, look, I hope you're ready to go. We'll be supporting you. And tomorrow we'll go again, just to let you know, it's my privilege to be here with you. I'm bleep looking forward to going with you and then win a lot of games and put this club in the place it needs to be. From now on, we're here coming together. We're here for you to try and make this place a place where everyone can be the best version of themselves and hopefully together move ourselves into the next level of performance. You'll have my door open every single day. You'll find that we are honest and straightforward people. In some way or the other, me as a foreigner, Toby and James are local. We have those feelings that you can have sometimes in a football club in very different areas. There's the whole team sat there. Kyle Rushworth sat in there. The whole first team is sat in that room listening to him. So he's clearly had everyone who's around around on this first day to get a sense of what he's like. He says there are 3 things that they'll all do together. You will have your own dressing room. I'll respect all your spaces. There's going to be a couple of spaces that I'd like to have. And we'll have a conversation with you. But from now on, we go together until the very end. Thank you very much. So he's very much trying to endear himself to the players straight away on a personal point and saying, look, this is who we are. We are going to make this there were reports of a divided dressing room against the manager. We're going to bring players manager, assistant manager, coaching staff, non-playing staff all together under this one roof again. And the OFOD slogan that the club use, One Family, One Dream, dare I say, could be slightly back on with Ruben Sayers.
Well, it needs to be, doesn't it? It needs to be back on, and so it needs to be in that vein that John's said this since he came in. He wants one family, one dream, and he needs a manager that's going to also teach his values to the players and bring those players closer to the fans, and want everybody to act as one family. If that's how you want it to work, and that's the only way it's going to work, isn't it, Paul?
Definitely, yeah. This is what we need. I mean, from what I've heard, I heard Slater did an interview and he said he'd hardly spoken to Tim while he'd been there, which isn't very good. I don't think he'd had a conversation at all, but if he has, it was very short and sweet. Well, obviously this chap, he seems a lot more man-manager, and I think that's what they need at the moment, because they do look a bit divided club, don't we? There's nobody playing out of the skin particularly, and as we've known with the Giles thing, he seems disinterested, doesn't he? Kamara seems disinterested. I ain't saying they are, but that's how they seem to the supporters. And it'd be nice for somebody to get in there and bring them back as a club and get us together. Whether we can get out the bottom three, I don't know. I'd like to think we can. I don't think at the moment it's panic stations, but I think definitely into sort of January, if we are making major headway, I think it might be panic stations then, depending on who we sign as well. So, but yeah, you'd like, if he's talking the right talk and and the door's always open, that's got to be a plus, hasn't it? Because I think, players like to be able to speak to the manager if they've got problems, or even if they felt they've been done down by the manager. I'd like to be able to see him and have a word with him. And from what I gather, Tim Walter won't that type of person. So it seems as though he is that type of person, and he's done really well at Reading, hasn't he? So you just got to hope he brings it here. And I think, maybe getting the youngsters involved would be a help, because, we desperately need something to change. And I think it maybe started a little bit under Andy Dawson, but you need bigger strides than that. And I think you need a little bit more change in the team, to get these players playing how you want them to play and how they should be playing.
About 3.5 minutes left for us, so I'm coming to you next, Nathaniel. Is 2.5 days, let's call it, enough to get us enough changes in for Wednesday night or for tonight as we are on the pod and on the radio? Is 2.5 days enough for him to work with those players to get a win?
It's not enough time to make changes and implement a new system, but you don't really need to do that to win games in the Championship. You just need to liven the place up a bit. You need a little bit of luck. As you've seen with Van Nistelrooy going into Leicester, they've got 4 points in 2 games. He's been there, I think, a week and, got an impact. But he's not really going to have the squad he wants, probably not even after January, probably only after like an entire transfer window next summer. Hopefully that'll be one in the Championship, but he doesn't really need to implement a whole new system. He just needs to get a few things across, but build on what Dawson's done and just hopefully some training drills, some defensive drills, just try and keep a clean sheet and tighten us up at the back a little bit. Hopefully.
Watford are in a good position, Joe, aren't they? Watford in a good position, Joe. One thing that he could do to work on over the 2.5 days is how to score from a corner.
Well,
he wants Arsenal's coach for that, whoever's coaching their
corner takers. The last 3 goals have been corners, haven't they? I know Filip Topalovic was in charge of set pieces under Tim Walter, and I think every club would benefit from a set piece coach in terms of how to defend them and how to attack them. Because every time Arsenal have a corner or a free kick, you think there's going to be a goal here, and we need that. We need that threat.
Yeah. I've seen
every time that we have a corner against us, we think there's going to be a goal, and every time that we have a corner for us, we know there ain't going to be a goal, Christian, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. Look, let's just look ahead and just. I've said this last week, and I'm saying it a week previous as well. I just don't want to concede. That's all. Yeah. I just don't look. if we've got to build, yes, we've got to. It's not enough for a win, but let's just tighten it up and just get 1 point to start with. Then work on getting 3 points.
So everybody on the podcast now would all take a 0-0 draw on our first game under Sayers or on tonight against Watford. Yeah,
I take a win.
Absolutely.
you take a draw,
I would be
Nathaniel.
disappointed with a 0-0.
No, we need wins. Bottom three. We need some wins.
No.
We need wins. I agree.
Nathaniel is the pickiest of us all. It has been a pre-record tonight on the podcast and on the radio. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed doing it. We're looking forward to talking to you again next Wednesday, and it'll be a live one. And hopefully we're talking about a couple of wins for the Tigers, and we're up into whatever position we can get to. We could get to 15th with a couple of wins.
It's not bad, is it?
Not bad, is it?
Not bad at all.
Anyway,
It's
let's
not
go.
desperate at the moment, is it? But it could be.
Could
soon.
be. Let's go around. I've been Eddie Wright.
I've been Joe Collins.
I've been Nathaniel.
I've been
Not doing
Paul
the full
Wright.
name.
And I'm Christian Sorensen.
And you've been listening to Tiger Talk on to Hull and Back and on Hub Wave Radio. We'll see you next week from 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.